The Barbie movie follows the hero's journey perfectly, matching all 17 stages outlined in Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces. Greta Gerwig was quoted as saying she wanted Barbie to go on a hero's journey. She's aware of it. She's read The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Seeing the Barbie movie through the lens of myth can expand your understanding of what the film means and how each sequence or stage reflects on an ancient mythic idea. You might be tempted to call this the heroine's journey, but it's not. See, the heroine's journey has nothing to do with a story happening to a woman. In fact, gender can be ignored in the hero's journey. Women can go on a hero's journey and men can go on a heroine's journey. This is the pattern. The world is set off balance, and then the hero goes on an ego-shattering journey to transform the world they live in, and by doing so, they transform themselves. This is Barbie and the hero's journey. The hero's journey has 3 stages. There's separation, where the hero leaves the world they know. Initiation, where the character is hazed into changing their ways by a series of threshold guardians. This is where Barbie enters the real world. And the return, where the hero comes back to the village transformed by the journey, and most importantly, brings that change with them. The first stage is the call to adventure. Barbie begins in her ordinary world. That's Barbie Land, where every night is a dance party. The ordinary world is only ordinary to our protagonist, not necessarily to us. Barbie is a fish out of water story, but there's a saying that all stories are, in essence, a fish out of water story. In all stories, we take a character from where they are comfortable, which is Act 1, and we put them in a place where they are uncomfortable, which is Act 2. That's the purpose of Act 2, to place a character where they are uncomfortable. In the beginning of a hero's journey, the hero may be under the impression that everything is all right and all is well with the world until some sort of an incident comes along, a sickness in the land, and that sickness sets the world off balance, which will cause the hero to go on a journey. However, underneath that, there is always something gnawing at the hero, a sense that there is something in them that must be changed. They will go on this journey to change the world, and in the end, they will right this thing that's gnawing at them. When the thoughts of death creep in, Barbie is called to make a change. Finally, when she awakens to find her feet have flattened, she is called to do something about it. This is the call to adventure. In the hero's journey, or the monomyth as it is otherwise known, the hero is set off balance when the village becomes sick and they must go on a mission to right the world again. But first, they refuse. This brings us to stage 2, the refusal of the call. Barbie, recognizing that her world is falling apart, where she used to float, she falls. Her feet have flattened. The world that is wonderful, where every day is a joy, has become painful. She's got cellulite. This brings her to the call. She's got to make a change. She's got to do something about this. When Barbie meets her mentor, Weird Barbie, she's offered a choice. Pick the ugly shoe and get the truth, or pick the high heel and stay dreaming. Without hesitation, she picks the high heel. This is the director playing with the tropes of the hero's journey. She's messing with us. She understands the refusal. This is a stage we've seen many times before in The Matrix, in Everything Everywhere All at Once, in other stories. The character is offered the journey, and at first they refuse. The refusal serves a really important purpose in storytelling. It shows us how difficult the journey will be for the hero, creating the stakes of the story. Without it, we wouldn't understand how hard this is for Barbie. Barbie is not made for the world she's going to. She wants the status quo. The status quo is tempting. It's beautiful. It's easy to live in. The truth is hard. The same scene is also what we call stage 3, the supernatural aid, also known as the meeting with the mentor. In the supernatural aid stage, the character is given a gift by a mentor figure. It may be knowledge, or it may be an object or some totem of power. In this case, Weird Barbie tells our hero how the other world works and what she needs to do to change it. Now, along with the stages in the monomyth, there are also archetypes. An archetype is like the opposite of a stereotype. It is the purest form of something, the first. Now, Kate McKinnon's Weird Barbie is playing the archetypical role of the mentor. The mentor is the higher self, the part of us that understands the world and has some higher wisdom. Kate McKinnon's Weird Barbie has seen the truth about the world through her owner, who horribly abused her and disfigured her. She had an owner that was angry and took her anger out on her by disfiguring her. Kate McKinnon's Weird Barbie has seen how the girls on the other side live. She gives also a warning. This will not be easy. Stage 4 is called the crossing of the first threshold. In this stage, our hero will pass some sort of barrier or border into the new world. It's a symbolic moment. Often there will be a sign or the entrance of a temple. This would be the symbolic crossing out of Barbie Land and into the real world. The marking of the threshold gives a sign to the audience that the journey of transformation has begun and there is no going back. They have stepped over the boundary of their world and into the new one. The belly of the whale. In the belly of the whale stage, the character enters into a temple where they face an almost death. This is not necessarily a real death. I mean, the Barbie movie isn't dealing in life or death stakes. This is an ego death. The belly of the whale stage is something that we see across all of myth. A very common image of a person being swallowed by some sort of monster or whale or sea monster, something that pulls them into a belly in which they will come out transformed. It is a beginning of a rebirth. The belly is both a temple and a womb. It is the place in which we enter to be reborn. However, as a story function, what the belly of the whale does is it gives us the first almost death of the protagonist, a moment in which it seems like they may die, but they emerge unharmed. They have entered in the womb and begun their transformation. When Barbie and Ken enter into the new world, rollerblading down the boulevard, they are harassed by men and made fun of until Barbie knocks somebody out and is put in prison. This is the belly of the whale stage. Barbie has entered into the womb to become something new. In the next stage, the road of trials, we have a series of events or challenges that the hero must face. This is similar to the 7 trials of Hercules. Often there are 3 trials. Often the hero will fail one of them and pass the others. Stage 7, the meeting with the goddess. The meeting with the goddess is a stage in which the protagonist meets a loving figure, maybe female, but again, gender doesn't really matter. When we talk about gender in the hero's journey, what we're really talking about is energy. Whether an energy is perceived as feminine or masculine. But here, we have 2 meetings with the goddess. When Barbie sits on the park bench and sees the old lady and notices and reflects on how beautiful she is, this is the meeting with the goddess. We again meet the goddess when Barbie is wandering the halls of Mattel and meets Rhea Perlman's character, the creator of Barbie, her mother. What the stage does is it offers the hero a loving power that will allow them to take on the journey. The way it reflects myth is often a hero will be given gifts from the goddess, mother figure. The meeting with the goddess is the world coming to help us in the form of a goddess figure. The temptation. In the temptation stage, our character is lured off the path of righteousness by some temptation. This is the siren song. This is the many temptations of the Buddha. This is the devil in the desert, tempting Christ off the path with the promise of a normal life. In this case, Barbie is offered to get back into the box by the CEO of Mattel. If she gets back in the box, everything will be all okay. She can forget everything she's learned. She can reset and become stereotypical Barbie again. For a moment, she thinks about it and then runs. The atonement of the father. The atonement of the father is an ego-shattering revelation in which the character learns some truth that they are unwilling to face. It is a truth that will set them on a path of transformation. It's a cruel truth by an angry and unforgiving father. But again, gender is an energy here. It doesn't have to be your father or a father. It can be a woman. It can be maybe a teenage girl. In fact, what looks like the atonement of the father stage in this movie is not really an atonement of the father. Barbie meets the CEO of Mattel, played by Will Ferrell. Her real atonement is with the teenage girl, who tells her of the harm that Barbie has caused little girls. It's a cruel moment. It's ego-shattering. It's mean and necessary for her transformation. This is what the atonement of the father does. It's called the atonement of the father because when we're thinking father, we're talking 1950s dad energy, the kind of dad that, beats you with his belt for talking back, but really only for your own good. The revelation of the atonement forces Barbie to face the role that she's played in society and rethink where she stands within the world. Order doesn't necessarily matter here, so I'm going to move out of order here. The next stage is the ultimate boon. The ultimate boon is the stage in which the hero gets the grail. They find what they're coming for. This is Indiana Jones getting the lost ark. This is the finding of the Holy Grail. When Barbie realizes that it is not the teenage girl but her mother that was playing with her, she has reached the ultimate boon. She succeeded in her mission. Now all that's left is to take this truth back with her to the village. The apotheosis. The apotheosis, or the peak of a story, the highest moment in a story. It is often a death. In the old myths, the hero may die and enter the underworld. This is also known as plot point 2 in 3-act structure. Barbie returns to Barbie Land and finds out that Ken has taken over and brought the patriarchy to Barbie Land. Things are as bad as they can get. This death will force her transformation. Barbie must confront Ken here. Ken is Barbie's shadow. The archetype of the shadow is the darker part of oneself, the parts of yourself that you refuse to face. Part of growing, part of becoming whole, is incorporating your shadow into yourself. When Barbie confronts Ken in the end, she realizes that she has allowed him to be subjugated in her world. Much of the political discourse on Barbie is remarked on how Ken is a negative male stereotype, but most of it misses the point. Ken is not a stand-in for all men. Ken is a man in a world in which men are subjugated. In other words, Ken is not real. The shadow may look the opposite of our hero, but the truth is, they are reflections of each other. The shadow is a dark reflection. They share the flaw. Ken is the personification of a person who has been subjugated and the vengeance that they take when they are not whole. The refusal of the return stage. The character has learned what they've needed to learn. They've gone through the painful lessons of the story, but they decide to hold that within them and keep the story to themselves. But the truth is, the journey will not be complete unless the character brings the knowledge of the story back to the village and shares it with the world. When Barbie finds that Ken has taken over, she collapses into a doll no longer being played with. Laying flat on her back, she gives up, she gives in. This is also a reflection of the refusal stage. Barbie, initially afraid to go on the journey, tried to refuse, but was not allowed to say no. Now here, she's come on the other side of the journey, and again she refuses. Again, she reveals her fear. These moments are key in showing the audience the stakes, how important this is, how difficult this is for our character. Stories are interesting because they are difficult for the protagonist. If it's easy, why are we watching it? Eventually, Barbie's friends will not allow her to lie down. She needs to wake up. She needs to bring the truth back to the village. The magic flight. What the Magic Flight stage does is that when the hero reaches the ultimate boon, they will be chased. The forces of antagonism cannot let it go so lightly. When Will Ferrell's CEO leads the board into Barbie Land, this is the Magic Flight. Rescue from without. What the Rescue from Without stage does is it reveals that the hero cannot do this alone. Someone will come in and rescue the hero, helping them to end the journey. This is the opposite of the initial stage where the hero realizes they are the chosen one. That is the hero's ego asserting itself, the hero seeing themselves as that which is separate from all others. In the Rescue from Without stage, the hero learns they are part of a larger whole, and they are brought into the fold by this rescue. They become one with all. In the Rescue from Without stage, the other Barbies band together, and with the help of America Ferrera's speech, they free the other Barbies. They are no longer doing it alone. At this point, Greta Gerwig does away with the idea of the hero as individual and allows the collective to come in and save the day. This is actually a break from the hero's journey, and I think it's intentional. I think she wanted the hero to not be the one to deliver the final blow to the villain. Maybe it says something about the way women band together. Maybe it says something about the need for help from others to connect. On the Crossing the Return Threshold stage, the character crosses another barrier where they enter back into the world they came from. In the Master of Two Worlds stage, the hero comes to the final revelation which allows them to transform. They are now master of two worlds. They can walk in this one, the world that they are from, and the world that they are unfamiliar with. They have mastered both. Barbie meets Ruth Handler and sees the barrier broken between her world and ours. In the Master of Two Worlds stage, the fish out of water learns to breathe air. The Master of Two Worlds stage is the completion of the journey. It often comes with a revelation that while they in the beginning thought everything was good and happy, the truth is it was not. Underneath everything, there was something singing to them, a need, and this need has been met for the very first time in their entire life. And the journey happened to them because of this need. In the Freedom to Live stage, Barbie has gone and passes into the new world. This is the denouement, the falling action, the untying of knots. It shows us how the character is now free to live in the new world. Barbie goes back to our world, dressed casually in casual shoes, and goes to the gynecologist. If you'd like to hear more Hero's Journey breakdowns, you can check them out on this playlist. Or if you want a deeper dive into the hero's journey, check out my video on the real hero's journey here.
Subscribe to Catharsis Machine.